Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. Don Lemon had his latest meltdown when James Comer was interviewed on CNN, now, The New York Post, and this is why Don Lemon has made so much money over the years for CNN. And this is why Don Lemon will almost certainly he will be fired within the next or forced to resign within the next weeks or a couple of months or tomorrow. Almost certainly. The reason is that the New York Post reporting on Hunter Biden was 100% accurate. So much so that the New York Times admitted, and now everyone has acknowledged, but the New York Post and its reporting 2 years ago on Hunter's emails laptop, the incriminating emails pointing to bizarre corrupt business schemes linked to Joe Biden was 100% real, genuine, authentic, and the truth. It was literally the truth. The 51 intelligence officials that said it was from another country trying to let you know how bad Democrats are, that was false. That was the myths or dis or harmful information that another country might try to utilize to influence impressionable Americans. So that's why you have to watch CNN and MSNBC and read the Washington Post. So you can get news filtered by good, morally superior, highly educated, oftentimes apoplectic, but always wonderful liberal Democrats. The New York Post, that reporting was accurate, real, genuine. They deserved the Pulitzer Prize. That is what the Pulitzer Prize is for. When you are reporting on news that the establishment does not want you to hear, that is also why Twitter, government agencies along with Twitter, because they didn't have to just write a note, hey, suspend the New York Post. They influenced Twitter. They gave Twitter a pretext. Government got involved. Similar it could have been the result of another country. And then Twitter said, God, we have these guidelines against information derived from other countries, not whether it's true or not. Where the information emanates from is what Democrats care about as long as it's information detrimental to their political side. So anyway, James Comer, who now along with Jim Jordan, and Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson and a whole bunch of other Republicans throughout Congress, are going after the same people that utilize the United States government against Trump so that a grievance is not a conservative grievance. Everyone knows what happened. You can look at the text message there. There was not only bias, they went after Trump, for reasons that could be used to go after any incoming president. Anyway, CNN. You can look, these are articles. Don Lemon screamed at CNN this morning. Co-host left crew rattled. That's the other day he just melted down with James Comer, talking about how Americans don't have any shared reality. Well, how can you have a shared reality when media is an extension of the Democratic Party? You're suspended? They suspended the New York Post for accurate reporting, yet nobody going after Trump in media has been suspended yet, and BuzzFeed actually put unverified. It's an unverified dossier, but we're gonna publish it anyway. It wasn't against Twitter policies. So it wasn't against none of it. It was against Twitter policies. The Steele dossier wasn't against Twitter policies, completely false and inaccurate and contrived and fabricated, a complete fantasy. Okay, these are imaginary allegations against Trump. That wonderful, highly educated Democrats desperately want it to be true, but what were not true. And the New York Post was silenced and censored and suspended because the reporting was true. That's the issue here. And that's what media including Don Lemon continue to ignore. But Lemon is on his way out of CNN. He will be the last remnant of an apoplectic obsession that CNN has had with Trump for the past 7 years, so. He's made millions upon millions of dollars dividing up this country. And you have to ask yourself, how many Thanksgiving dinners were ruined, how many get-togethers, how many friendships, how many families were divided, not because of the Trump supporter, because of the morally superior liberal Democrat who doesn't know of all the corruption on their political side, because it's suppressed in silence and hidden from them by people like Don Lemon and CNN, and we'll talk about James Comer and Jim Jordan in the House Judiciary's weaponization panel, that Democrats are trying to, downplay, as always, and I say this with love, if you're a Democrat, Republican doesn't matter. God bless you. Have a beautiful, amazing 2023. I wish you only happiness. And then, number of Chinese migrants illegally crossing southern border up 700%. The number of Chinese migrants illegally crossing the southern border into the United States in the last 3 months is currently up more than 700% compared to the same period in 2021. According to Customs and Border Protection data, the CBP is reporting show that in the 2022 fiscal year 21,100 Chinese nationals were encountered at the southern border. In the previous fiscal year 450 were apprehended, and in 2021 1,000 were encountered. So far in only the first 3 months of the 2023 fiscal year. Southern Border Patrol agents have reported 1.91 thousand Chinese migrants attempting to enter the country from the U.S.-Mexico border in December of last year. 950 Chinese nationals were caught at the border compared to the 73 the previous year. An overwhelming majority of Chinese migrants are single adults. On Tuesday, Chief Patrol Agent John Maudlin told lawmakers during a congressional hearing that he has, quote, tremendous concern that previously deported felons and potential terrorists are among the got away slipping into the United States. The Department of Homeland Security source stated that 15 Chinese nationals who attempted to cross into the United States in the Rio Grande Valley sector were placed in custody as of Wednesday. The source stated that the detained individuals range in age from their 20s to their 50s. Texas recently apprehended 3 Chinese immigrants, who had each paid human smugglers $35,000. Smugglers usually charged Chinese nationals higher rates than those from Latin America. The nationals are typically quickly sent back to China unless they claim to have a credible fear of persecution if returned. Those seeking asylum in the United States are released into the country on their own, and provided an immigration hearing court date. White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield to step down. The White House on Friday announced that Biden's Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, who has been with him since his 2021 inauguration, will step down at the end of this month. Bedingfield will be succeeded by Ben LaBolt, a former advisor to President Barack Obama and current strategist for the communications agency, Bully Pulpit Interactive. Prior to serving as the White House Communications Director, Bedingfield worked as then Vice President Biden's Communication Director in 2015 and 2016, and then found a role on his 2020 campaign as Deputy Campaign Manager before working for Biden. Bedingfield served in the Obama White House as Associate Communications Director, Deputy Director of Media Affairs and Director of Rapid Response. Quote, since my time as Vice President, Kate has been a loyal and trusted advisor through thick and thin, and Biden said in his statement. He continues, quote, she was a critical strategic voice from the very first day of my presidential campaign in 2019, and has been a key part of advancing my agenda in the White House. The country is better off as a result of her hard work, and I'm so grateful to her and to her husband and 2 young children for giving so much. Ben has big shoes to fill. Budding successor Love Boltz previously served as head of communications for the confirmation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court, and advised the Biden transition team on nominations. The announcement comes amid a shakeup of senior White House staff following the 2022 midterm elections, including the departure of Biden's first Chief of Staff Ron Klain. It is possible more staffing changes are imminent. FBI seizes classified documents from Mike Pence's home. A document with classified markings was removed from former Vice President Mike Pence's Indiana home Friday during a search by the FBI. According to Penn spokesman Devin O'Malley, 6 additional pages without such markings that were not discovered in the initial review by the Vice President's counsel were also removed, according to the same spokesman. Pence is currently on the West Coast with his family after the birth of 2 grandchildren. According to his spokesperson, the FBI is also expected to search Pence's office in Washington, D.C. in the coming days. The search comes after the FBI and the Justice Department's National Security Division launched a review of the documents and how they ended up in Pence's house. It is not yet clear what the documents were related to or their level of sensitivity or classification. Pence has previously acknowledged that, quote, mistakes were made as he took responsibility for classified documents ending up in his home and pledged to fully cooperate with any FBI investigation. He said that the found documents had been, quote, immediately secured and the National Archives was notified. Pence had discovered classified documents in his Indiana home after he was instructed by an attorney to search his records out for an abundance of caution following news of Biden's classified documents. His attorney Matt Morgan found about a dozen documents marked with classified markings in 4 boxes that came from Pence, his vice presidential residence, and his White House office. Pence his team notify the archives of the discovery and archives notified officials at the FBI. The FBI requested that Pence immediately turn over the classified documents and he agreed. Former NYC Mayor Bill de Blasio lobbying for Labor Secretary job. Former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is lobbying to join the Biden administration. To succeed outgoing Labor Secretary Martin Walsh, quote, "The mayor has had his eye on the Biden administration for a long time. And now he sees an opening and he's making his case for the Labor Secretary to the White House," a source with close ties to the White House said. They continue, quote, "He's calling friends in the Biden administration to help make his case and push his candidacy. The Labor Secretary's job is to ensure, quote, the welfare of the wage earners of the United States, to improve their working conditions and to advance their opportunities for profitable employment." De Blasio has repeatedly tried to move into new political positions, but his attempts so far have been unsuccessful. In September of 2019, de Blasio withdrew from the race for the Democratic presidential nomination due to lackluster public support. Over 3/4 of New Yorkers at the time thought de Blasio entering the race was a bad idea, with the former mayor boasting only a 33% favorability rating. According to a poll, former New York Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney is also believed to be vying for the Labor Secretary position. In November, Maloney lost his congressional seat to Republican Mike Lawler in an upset. Maloney was chair of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee at the time. U.S. military shoots down unidentified objects flying over Alaska. The U.S. military on Friday shot down an unidentified object over Alaska. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby announced in a White House press briefing. The news comes less than a week after the U.S. military shot down a Chinese spy balloon over the Atlantic Ocean. The Pentagon has not yet confirmed whether the object was a balloon, but officials said it was at an altitude that threatens aircraft. Kirby said that Joe Biden ordered the object be shot down, quote, out of an abundance of caution. The quick response stands in contrast to Biden's response last week to the Chinese spy balloon, which floated over much of the continental United States after he waited to take it down. Biden said on Thursday he did not regret waiting several days to take it down, claiming defense individuals urged caution until the vessel reached open waters. Quote, "Experts in the intelligence community, defense community, have forgotten more about it than you or I know." Biden said the balloon was shot down over the Atlantic Ocean on February 4, after it was first reported in the U.S. airspace on January 31. The balloon crossed over military and nuclear bases in Montana. Republicans criticized Biden's slow response to the spy balloon, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo wrote that Biden's weakness with China is once again on display. Quote, "Biden must reassert American resolve and not continue to peddle American weakness," he wrote. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Of course, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course possibly subscribe if you're up for it. I'm gonna get back to work. I want to thank you guys for watching.